The call came on a Friday afternoon while I was in my office overlooking downtown Seattle, reviewing the quarterly earnings for my hospitality empire. Victoria Sterling from Premier Celebrations sounded distinctly uncomfortable as she delivered the message that would forever change the dynamics of my family. Mr. Davidson, I'm calling regarding your parents' 25th anniversary celebration next weekend. Your siblings have made a request to adjust the guest arrangements, but they still require your $60,000 contribution to proceed with the event. I paused, setting down the financial reports I'd been reviewing. Through my floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the Seattle waterfront where 3 of my luxury hotels dotted the skyline, properties my family had no idea I owned. Adjust the guest arrangements how, Victoria? Her voice became even more strained. They've asked that we remove you from the guest list. They mentioned something about wanting to keep the celebration intimate and focused on successful family members who would make the right impression on your parents' friends. The irony was breathtaking. For the past 7 years, my family had treated me like the black sheep, the son who'd dropped out of law school to chase entrepreneurial dreams they considered frivolous. They had no idea that those dreams had evolved into Cascade Hospitality Group, a $3.2 billion empire spanning luxury resorts, restaurants, and entertainment venues across the Pacific Northwest. I see. And they expect me to fund a party I'm not invited to attend. That appears to be the situation, yes. Your brother Marcus specifically mentioned that your parents have been looking forward to this celebration for months, and they don't want to disappoint them by reducing the scale. Marcus, my older brother, the successful corporate attorney who'd spent the last decade making sure everyone knew he was the family's pride and joy. The same brother who'd convinced my parents that my business ventures were cute hobbies that would never amount to anything substantial. Victoria, I need you to cancel the entire event. I'm sorry, what? But sir, it's your parents' silver anniversary. I can't just. Yes, you can. Because the celebration is scheduled at Cascade Point Resort, which I own. The catering is being provided by Sterling Culinary Group, also mine. The flower arrangements are coming from Pacific Garden Designs, my company. The guests are staying at Cascade Hotels in Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver, all part of my chain. The silence on the other end stretched for nearly 15 seconds. Mr. Davidson, I don't understand. The contracts all show different company names. All subsidiaries of Cascade Hospitality Group. I'll have my legal team send over the ownership documentation within the hour. Consider this official notice that all services are being withdrawn. After ending the call, I sat in my executive chair, looking out at the empire I'd built while my family dismissed me as a failure. It had started with a small bed and breakfast I'd purchased with my college fund after dropping out of law school. My parents had been horrified, their son choosing hospitality over the legal career they'd planned for me. What they never understood was that I hadn't failed at law school. I'd simply realized that building something from nothing was more appealing than arguing cases for other people's problems. Every dollar I'd made from that first property had been reinvested into the next acquisition, and then the next until I controlled some of the most prestigious hospitality properties on the West Coast. But to them I was still just Alex, the disappointment who'd given up on his potential to run what they assumed were small, struggling businesses. My phone buzzed. Marcus's name appeared on the screen. Alex, what the hell did you just do? Good afternoon to you too, Marcus. The anniversary party coordinator just called Mom and Dad in tears, saying the entire event is cancelled. He claims you own all the vendors. That can't be right. It's completely right. That's impossible. You run a couple of small hotels. I own 47 properties across 3 states, Marcus. The small hotels you're referring to generate more annual revenue than your law firm's entire client base. The silence told me he was processing this information. You're lying. I'm sending you some documents. After you review them, we can continue this conversation. I hung up and instructed my assistant to prepare a comprehensive portfolio of my holdings, focusing on the properties and services involved in the anniversary celebration. Within 30 minutes, a courier was delivering the package to Marcus's downtown law office. My phone started ringing 20 minutes later. First Marcus, then my sister Lisa, then my parents. I let them all go to voicemail while I finished my afternoon meetings. Marcus's message was a mix of shock and indignation. Alex, I've seen the documents. We need to talk immediately. This changes nothing about the anniversary party. Mom and Dad deserve their celebration. Lisa's message was more emotional. Alex, I don't understand what's happening. Marcus showed me some paperwork that doesn't make sense. Please call me back. We can work this out. My parents' message broke my heart. My father's voice was confused and hurt. Son, we're getting conflicting information about this weekend. Your mother is very upset. Can you please call us and explain what's going on? I waited until evening to return their calls, starting with my parents. They were at Marcus's house, no doubt strategizing how to handle their newly revealed successful son. Alex. My mother's voice was overly bright with forced cheer. We've been trying to reach you all day. I know, Mom. I've been in meetings. Honey, Marcus showed us some very impressive business documents. We had no idea you'd grown your little hotel business into something so substantial. There it was. Even in her attempt at praise, she couldn't help but refer to my empire as a little hotel business that had grown up. Is that what you wanted to discuss? My father took the phone. Son, we owe you an apology. We didn't realize how successful you'd become. But surely we can resolve this misunderstanding about the anniversary party. There's no misunderstanding, Dad. Marcus and Lisa decided I wasn't suitable company for your celebration, but they still wanted my money to pay for it. That's not. Look, maybe they made an error in judgment. But this is about your mother and me, not them. We want you there. Do you? Or do you want me there now that you know I'm wealthy? Alex, that's not fair. Isn't it? 3 months ago you asked me when I was going to stop playing around with hotels and get a real job. You suggested I consider joining Marcus's firm as a paralegal because it would provide steady income and benefits. The truth hung between us. They couldn't deny the conversation because we all remembered it. People change, son. We can do better. I hope so. But change requires acknowledging what went wrong. You two spent years being embarrassed by my career choice while I was building something that dwarfs Marcus's legal practice. We were never embarrassed. Dad, you introduced me to people as your son, who's trying to make it in the hotel business while introducing Marcus as our successful attorney. The difference in tone was unmistakable. My mother took the phone back. Alex, we love you. We've always been proud of you. You love the successful version of me you just discovered. But you weren't proud of me when you thought I was struggling with small properties. That's not true. Mom, 6 months ago you asked if I needed money for groceries. You assumed I was barely making ends meet because I drive a 10-year-old truck instead of a luxury car. The reality was I could afford any car I wanted. I drove the truck because I'd learned that real wealth comes from smart investments, not flashy displays. Every dollar I didn't spend on status symbols went into acquiring new properties. So what happens now? My father asked quietly. Now we establish boundaries. I'm not your charity case and I'm not your trophy son. I'm your son, period. If you can love and respect me on those terms, we can rebuild our relationship. And the anniversary party? Find a new venue, new catering, and new accommodations for your out-of-town guests. Might I suggest looking at properties I don't own? Although in this region that significantly limits your options. After hanging up, I made a decision that would reshape our family permanently. I called my head of security and instructed him to compile a comprehensive report of every financial interaction I'd had with my family over the past 5 years. The results were staggering. I'd been quietly subsidizing their lifestyle in ways they never realized. Marcus's law firm operated out of a building I owned. I'd been providing his office space at below-market rates through a shell company. Lisa's boutique had received several anonymous investments to keep it afloat during slow periods. My parents' country club membership, their recent cruise to Alaska, even their mortgage refinancing at an impossibly low interest rate, all had been facilitated through my various business connections. I'd been the invisible hand supporting their comfortable lifestyle while they pitted me for my apparent lack of success. But I also did something else. I called the city's most exclusive event planning company and arranged for a surprise renewal ceremony for my parents. Not the large celebration they'd planned, but an intimate gathering at my private estate overlooking Puget Sound. Then I contacted their closest friends personally, explaining that I wanted to host a special celebration for my parents' milestone anniversary. If my siblings wanted to exclude me from their party, fine. But I was still going to honor my parents the way they deserved. Saturday morning arrived with typical Seattle drizzle. I was in my home office when my security system alerted me to visitors at the gate. Through the camera, I saw Marcus's BMW sedan with my entire family inside. I'd never invited them to my house. They'd never even known where I lived. The estate was a 12-acre property I'd purchased quietly 3 years ago, complete with main house, guest cottages, and private beach access. How did you find me? I asked through the intercom. We hired a private investigator, Marcus said, clearly irritated. Alex, we need to talk. I buzzed them through, curious about what they'd learned from their investigation. They drove slowly up the winding driveway, past manicured gardens and the guest cottages, until they reached the main house. I watched from my office window as they sat in the car for several minutes, taking in the scope of the property. When they finally approached the front door, my mother was crying. Alex, this place is... She couldn't finish the sentence. Would you like to come in? They followed me through the foyer with its soaring ceilings and custom chandelier, past the great room with its floor-to-ceiling stone fireplace, to the kitchen that overlooked the sound. The view is incredible, Lisa whispered. I bought the property for the location. The house came with it. My father was studying the artwork on the walls, original pieces I'd collected from local artists over the years. Son, this must have cost. I own it outright. No mortgage. Marcus finally found his voice. Alex, we need to understand what's happening here. The investigator's report showed holdings we never imagined. Is it true that you own the Cascade Hotel in downtown Seattle? I own all 6 Cascade hotels, plus the resort properties, restaurant chains, and entertainment venues. It's a comprehensive hospitality portfolio. My mother sank into one of the kitchen island stools. Why didn't you ever tell us? Because I wanted you to be proud of me for following my passion, not impressed by my bank account. I wanted you to respect my choice to leave law school because I was building something meaningful, not because it happened to make me wealthy. But we are proud of you. Lisa protested. Really? When was the last time any of you asked about my business without suggesting I should consider a more stable career? None of them could answer. Marcus leaned against the counter. Okay, we made mistakes. We didn't understand what you were building. But family forgives family, and we can move forward from here. What does moving forward look like to you, Marcus? We restore the anniversary party. You rejoin the guest list, and we celebrate Mom and Dad the way they deserve. As what? The successful son you're suddenly proud to claim. As our brother, Lisa said quietly. Alex, I know how this looks, but we do love you. You love the successful version of me you just discovered. But you didn't love me when you thought I was struggling. That's not fair. Lisa, 2 months ago you offered to loan me money for business expenses because you assumed I was having cash flow problems. You felt sorry for me. She couldn't deny it because the conversation had happened at a family dinner, witnessed by everyone present. My father cleared his throat. Son, what can we do to make this right? I pulled out the security report my team had prepared, showing them the comprehensive analysis of how I'd been supporting their lifestyle for years. This is every time I've subsidized your lives over the past 5 years. Marcus's below-market office rent, Lisa's anonymous business loans, your cruise vacation, the country club membership. All of it came from me. Marcus stared at the numbers. You've been helping us financially? I've been helping you succeed while you looked down on me for not achieving what you considered real success. We didn't know, my mother whispered, because I didn't want you to know. I wanted to help because I love you, not because I was trying to prove my worth. But allowing you to see me as unsuccessful was a mistake. It enabled you to treat me poorly without understanding the consequences. So what happens now? My father asked. Now we establish new boundaries. I'm not your ATM and I'm not your trophy son. I'm your son and brother, period. If you can love and respect me on those terms, we can rebuild our relationship. My phone chimed with a text from my event coordinator. Private celebration ready at Estate Garden. Guests arriving at 4 p.m. Actually, I said, there's something you should know. I've planned a different kind of anniversary celebration for you. What do you mean? My mother asked. Your real friends, the people who care about you, not your social status, will be arriving here in a few hours for an intimate renewal ceremony. I've arranged for the minister who performed your original wedding, the photographer who did your engagement photos, and a small dinner prepared by my personal chef. You did all this? My father's voice was thick with emotion. You deserve to be celebrated. But by people who love you, not by those you're trying to impress. Lisa started crying. Alex, we're so sorry. We were awful to you. You were thoughtless. There's a difference. Can you forgive us? Marcus asked. I looked at my family, really looked at them. They were flawed, they'd hurt me, but they were still my family. I can forgive you. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. Things have to change. They will, my mother promised. We want to know the real you, not just the successful businessman. We want to understand why you chose this path and what drives you. And we want to support your dreams, not dismiss them, Lisa added. Even when those dreams don't match your expectations? Especially then, my father said firmly. That afternoon, I watched my parents renew their vows in my garden overlooking Puget Sound. 20 of their closest friends had come to celebrate. People who'd known them for decades and cared about their happiness, not their social connections. Marcus gave a toast that surprised me. To my parents who taught us that love endures through every challenge. And to my brother Alex who taught us today that success isn't measured by other people's expectations, but by staying true to your own vision. Lisa pulled me aside as the sun was setting over the water. I have a confession to make. What's that? I've always been jealous of you. Even when we thought you were struggling, you seemed happier than the rest of us. You were doing what you loved while we were all trying to meet other people's definitions of success. And now I understand why. You built something that matters to you, not something that looks impressive to others. Lisa, what makes you happy? Not what makes mom and dad proud, but what actually brings you joy. She thought for a moment. Photography. I've always loved taking pictures, but I went into retail because it seemed more practical. What if practical isn't the goal? What if the goal is building a life you love? Is that what you did? Every day. Even when it was scary, even when you all thought I was making a mistake. I want to learn from you, she said. Not about business but about courage. About following your passion even when people doubt you. 6 months later, I was back in my office when Victoria Sterling called again. Mr. Davidson, I have an unusual request. Your sister Lisa is getting married and she's asked me to coordinate the wedding. She specifically requested that all services be provided by Cascade Companies, and she wants you to walk her down the aisle since your father will be officiating. Lisa's getting married? To a photographer she met at a workshop about starting creative businesses. She says you inspired her to follow her passion. I smiled, thinking about how much had changed since that first phone call about the anniversary party. Tell Lisa we'll give her the wedding of her dreams. And Victoria? This time make sure I'm at the top of the guest list. Already done, sir. She insisted on it. That evening I had dinner with my parents at their house. Something that had become a weekly tradition since the anniversary celebration. My mother was showing me photos from Lisa's engagement session while my father grilled salmon on the deck. She looks so happy, my mother said. She's happy. She's finally doing what she loves. Like you always have, my father added, joining us at the table. It wasn't always easy being the disappointment son. You were never a disappointment, Alex. We were just too narrow-minded to see the bigger picture. And too proud to admit when we were wrong, my mother added. Marcus arrived with his family for dessert. Another new tradition. His kids ran straight to me, excited to hear about the new adventure park I was building at one of my resorts. Uncle Alex, will there really be zip lines over the lake? His daughter asked. 3 different courses plus rock climbing and kayaking. Can we come to the opening? You'll be my special guests. As I watched my family gathered around the dinner table, sharing stories and planning future visits to my properties, I realized that canceling the anniversary party had been the best decision I could have made. Not because it punished them, but because it forced all of us to confront the truth about our relationships. Now, instead of being the family disappointment who secretly funded everyone's lifestyle, I was simply Alex, successful businessman, devoted son and brother, and the person they came to when they needed advice about following their dreams. And that, I thought as my nephew showed me his drawings of the adventure park, was worth every uncomfortable conversation it had taken to get here. The next weekend, as I stood in my garden watching Lisa and her photographer fiancé exchange vows, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Not because I'd proven my worth to my family, but because we'd finally learned to love each other without conditions. That, more than any business success, was the real victory.